The submerged mystery that challenges our understanding of history. Imagine discovering a smartphone among the ruins of an ancient civilization, thousands of years before any similar technology was invented. Sounds impossible, doesn't it? But in 1901, Greek sponge divers stumbled upon something equally baffling in the depths of the Aegean Sea. An artifact so advanced that it would take humanity more than 2,000 years to create something comparable. This extraordinary object became known as the Antikythera computer, and its story is as fascinating as it is disturbing to our linear understanding of human progress. At the beginning of the 20th century, a group of divers was exploring the wreckage of an ancient Roman ship near the Greek island of Antikythera, located between mainland Greece and Crete. Among bronze statues, pottery, and other valuable artifacts, they found a corroded and encrusted piece of bronze, apparently of no importance. No one could imagine that this green and broken fragment represented one of the greatest archaeological enigmas of all time. When archaeologists began examining the objects recovered from the shipwreck, dated to approximately 60 BC, that corroded piece of metal caught the attention of a researcher named Valerio Stais. Upon observing it more closely, he noticed something extraordinary. There were gears inside that object. Complex gears, precisely manufactured, in an artifact over 2,000 years old. The discovery was so incompatible with the knowledge of the time that many experts simply refused to believe it. A technological anachronism that defies logic. The Antikythera computer represents what historians call a technological anachronism, an object out of its expected time. To understand the magnitude of this discovery, imagine finding a digital watch in an ancient Egyptian tomb, or a jet engine among Leonardo da Vinci's belongings. The sophistication of the mechanism was so advanced that nothing remotely similar would be created again until the development of European astronomical clocks in the 14th century, approximately 1,400 years later. The original device, when intact, would have been approximately the size of a shoebox. It was composed of at least 30 interconnected bronze gears, each meticulously manufactured with precise teeth. The complexity of the gear system was comparable to the mechanisms found in 18th century Swiss watches. How did the ancient Greeks, without the benefit of modern tools, manage to create something so sophisticated? This question tormented generations of researchers. For decades after its discovery, the Antikythera computer remained a misunderstood mystery. Most of the recovered fragments were severely corroded by salt water, making it impossible to fully understand its function. Of the 82 known fragments, only about a third of the original device survived. The other half was lost forever in the depths of the Mediterranean, or so we thought. The digital revolution reveals millennial secrets. The real turning point in this story began in the 21st century, when researchers decided to apply modern technologies to the ancient enigma. Using high-resolution computed tomography, 3D imaging techniques, and advanced digital analysis, scientists began to virtually disassemble the mechanism, revealing details invisible to the naked eye. What they discovered was even more impressive than anyone could imagine. Tiny inscriptions, previously illegible, began to appear in the digital images. They were instructions for use, descriptions of functions, and astronomical diagrams. The device was not simply a clock or an ornamental calendar. It was a sophisticated analog computer designed to calculate and predict astronomical phenomena with surprising accuracy. But there was still a gigantic problem. Half of the device was missing. How could we fully understand its capabilities without knowing what the lost part did? That's when artificial intelligence entered the scene, bringing a revolutionary approach to a millennial mystery. When AI meets archaeology, a new frontier. In recent years, an international team of researchers decided to use artificial intelligence algorithms and machine learning to virtually reconstruct the lost half of the Antikythera computer. The project was ambitious. Feed the AI with all known data about the device, the surviving gears, the inscriptions, the spacings, the tooth patterns on the gears, and let it deduce what the missing part would look like. The approach was based on mathematical and astronomical principles known to the ancient Greeks. The AI analyzed thousands of possible configurations, testing which gear arrangements would be necessary to perform specific astronomical calculations. The process involved complex mechanical simulations, analysis of ancient texts on Greek astronomy, and physical modeling of the manufacturing limitations of the time. The result was absolutely spectacular. The AI not only managed to propose a plausible reconstruction of the lost half, but revealed that the device was even more sophisticated than researchers had imagined. The reconstruction showed a gear system that could calculate not only the movements of the Sun and Moon, but also all 5 planets known in antiquity: Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. The discoveries that left historians perplexed. When the results of the AI reconstruction were analyzed, they revealed capabilities that genuinely shocked the academic community. The Antikythera computer was not just a passive observation instrument, it was an incredibly accurate prediction machine that could calculate astronomical events years in advance. First, the device could predict solar and lunar eclipses with impressive precision. It incorporated the Saros cycle, a period of approximately 18 years used by the Babylonians to predict eclipses. This demonstrated that the mechanism's builders not only understood advanced astronomy, but had also integrated knowledge from different civilizations into a single instrument. Second, the reconstruction revealed that the computer could track the Metonic cycle, a 19-year period in which the phases of the moon align with the solar calendar. This cycle was fundamental to the ancient Greek calendar and for determining the dates of the ancient Olympic Games. Incredibly, the device had specific dials to indicate when these Pan-Hellenic Games would occur: the Olympic Games, the Pythian Games, the Nemean Games, and the Isthmian Games. Third, and perhaps most surprising, the mechanism could model the irregular orbits of the planets. The ancient Greeks observed that planets did not move uniformly through the sky. They seemed to accelerate, decelerate, and even occasionally move backward in a phenomenon called retrograde motion. To reproduce this mechanically, the builders of the Antikythera computer used an ingenious system of epicyclic gears, essentially gears within gears, that created complex motion patterns. The geocentric theory in bronze and precision. One of the most fascinating aspects revealed by the AI reconstruction was how the device modeled the cosmos according to ancient Greek understanding. The Greeks believed in a geocentric universe, where Earth was at the center, and all celestial bodies revolved around it. Although this conception was incorrect, Greek astronomers like Hipparchus and Ptolemy developed sophisticated mathematical models that could predict celestial movements with remarkable precision. The Antikythera computer incorporated these models in mechanical form. Each planet had its own gear train, calibrated to reproduce its specific orbital period. The gear ratios were calculated with impressive precision. For example, the solar gear had 64 teeth, while the lunar had multiple stages that produced the correct ratio for the lunar month. But here's what really impressed the researchers. The device didn't just model simple circular orbits. It incorporated Hipparchus's theories about the moon's eccentric orbit, the idea that the moon doesn't orbit in a perfect circle centered on Earth, but in a slightly offset orbit. To reproduce this mechanically requires a level of ingenuity that left modern mechanics experts genuinely amazed. The mystery of the builders. Who created this marvel? One of the most intriguing questions that emerged from the complete reconstruction of the Antikythera computer is, who built it? The sophistication of the device suggests not just a skilled craftsman, but an entire tradition of building mechanical instruments, a tradition of which we have practically no other physical record. Some researchers believe the device may have been built on the island of Rhodes, famous in antiquity for its mechanical craftsmen, and the colossal statue of the Colossus of Rhodes, one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. Rhodes was also home to important schools of astronomy and philosophy. The famous astronomer Hipparchus worked there in the 2nd century BC, about a century before the shipwreck of the vessel carrying the Antikythera computer. Others suggest connections to Archimedes, the legendary mathematician and inventor of Syracuse, who lived in the 3rd century BC. Ancient writings mention that Archimedes built spheres, or mechanical planetariums, that showed the movements of celestial bodies. Could the Antikythera computer be a surviving example of this type of device? Or was it built by his disciples and successors? Analysis of the inscriptions on the device revealed details about its calendar, which presents characteristics of calendars used in Corinth and its colonies. This adds another layer of complexity to the question of its origin. The device may have been built in one location, but calibrated for use in another, or it may represent a synthesis of knowledge from various Greek city-states. The historical paradox: why aren't there more devices like this? One of the most disturbing questions raised by the Antikythera computer is what historians call the problem of technological discontinuity. If the ancient Greeks possessed the ability to create such sophisticated mechanical devices, why don't we find more examples? Why did this technology apparently disappear for over 1,000 years? There are several theories. First, it's possible that such devices were extremely rare, even in antiquity, produced only by a few master craftsmen, and accessible only to the extremely wealthy or to religious and educational institutions. Bronze was a valuable material that was frequently melted down and reused, especially during periods of war or economic crisis. Second, much of antiquity's technical knowledge may have been lost during periods of social upheaval. The fall of the Roman Empire, barbarian invasions, and the subsequent fragmentation of the Mediterranean world resulted in the loss of countless texts, libraries, and traditions of knowledge. The famous Library of Alexandria, which contained much of the ancient world's scientific knowledge, was destroyed in a series of events over the centuries. Third, there's the intriguing possibility that such devices were more common than we think, but simply didn't survive. Bronze objects submerged in salt water for centuries generally disintegrate completely. The Antikythera computer only survived because it was quickly buried in sediments that protected it from more severe corrosion. How many other similar devices might be lost forever at the bottom of the sea or disintegrated over millennia? Rewriting the history of technology. The complete reconstruction of the Antikythera computer by AI forced historians to reconsider fundamental narratives about human technological development. The traditional view of technological progress as a constant upward line, from simple to complex, from primitive to advanced, simply doesn't hold up in the face of this artifact. The device demonstrates that ancient Greek civilization had achieved a level of sophistication in precision engineering, metallurgy, and mathematical understanding that rivaled many achievements of the Renaissance and early modern era. This raises profound questions. What else did the ancients know that we've lost? What other technologies might have existed and disappeared? Some academics now speak of technological discontinuities, periods in which certain advanced technologies existed but were lost or forgotten, requiring rediscovery or reinvention centuries later. The Antikythera computer may be the most dramatic example, but it's not the only one. Roman cement, for example, was superior to many modern formulations in certain aspects, but its method of manufacture was lost for centuries. How AI changed everything: methodology and discoveries. The application of artificial intelligence to archaeology represents a methodological revolution. Traditionally, the reconstruction of ancient artifacts depended on specialized knowledge, manual trial and error, and much educated guesswork. The process was slow, laborious, and limited by human imagination. AI changed this paradigm in several fundamental ways. First, it can process and analyze volumes of data that would be impossible for human researchers. In the case of the Antikythera computer, the AI analyzed thousands of possible gear configurations, testing each against known data, positions of existing fragments, spacings between components, descriptive texts in the inscriptions. Second, AI can identify subtle patterns that humans would easily miss. For example, AI-assisted image analyses revealed tiny inscriptions that were invisible under normal light, but became legible under certain lighting and digital processing conditions. These inscriptions provided crucial clues about the function of specific components. Third, AI can work without biases or preconceived assumptions. While human archaeologists may unconsciously favor interpretations that align with historical expectations, AI simply looks for solutions that best fit the data. This led to several surprises in the reconstruction, gear configurations that no human researcher had considered, but that proved to be the only viable solutions. The calculations that changed our perspective. When researchers finally could operate the digitally reconstructed model of the complete Antikythera computer, they discovered capabilities that genuinely shocked even the most optimistic experts. The device was not just a decorative planetarium or glorified calendar. It was a genuine scientific instrument that could make practical astronomical predictions. One of the most impressive uses was for navigation. Ancient sailors depended on the stars and celestial movements to determine their position and navigate safely. The Antikythera computer could calculate the positions of celestial bodies for any past or future date, allowing navigators to plan voyages based on favorable astronomical conditions. Another likely use was astrological. Although astrology is viewed today as pseudoscience, in antiquity it was considered a serious field of study and intimately linked to astronomy. The ability to calculate precise planetary positions would have been extremely valuable to astrologers who advised rulers and wealthy citizens about propitious moments for important decisions. The device also had religious and civic applications. The ancient Greek calendar was lunar-solar, requiring complex calculations to determine when to insert additional months to maintain alignment with the seasons. The Antikythera computer automated these calculations. It could also predict the dates of major religious festivals and the Pan-Hellenic Games, central events in Greek cultural life. The user interface, surprisingly sophisticated. A fascinating aspect revealed by the complete reconstruction was the device's user interface. The builders clearly thought carefully about how to make this complex instrument usable. The front of the device featured two large dials that displayed the position of the sun and moon against the zodiac, as well as lunar phases. The back had two spiral dials. The upper dial was an eclipse calendar covering the 18-year Saros cycle, divided into 223 lunar months. This dial not only predicted when eclipses would occur, but also indicated what type of eclipse, solar or lunar, and at what time of day it would happen. The lower dial tracked the 19-year Metonic cycle and included markers for the Pan-Hellenic Games. But here's what really impressed the researchers. The device had something equivalent to a built-in user manual. The inscriptions weren't just decorative. They were detailed instructions on how to operate the mechanism, how to interpret the dials, and even warnings about the significance of certain celestial events. It was an incredibly well-thought-out user interface system, comparable in its attention to usability to modern designs. Philosophical implications. Reassessing antiquity. The existence of the Antikythera computer raises profound philosophical questions about how we conceptualize historical periods. We tend to use terms like ancient and primitive almost interchangeably, assuming that older societies were necessarily less sophisticated. This device demonstrates that such an assumption is fundamentally flawed. The builders of the Antikythera computer possessed sophisticated knowledge in multiple disciplines: theoretical astronomy, applied mathematics, metallurgy, mechanical engineering, and interface design. They managed to integrate this knowledge into a single functional artifact that remained unequaled for over a millennium. This is not primitive by any meaningful definition. This realization forces us to confront an uncomfortable truth. Progress is not inevitable or unidirectional. Civilizations can reach remarkable heights of achievement and then lose that knowledge. Knowledge can be forgotten, traditions can be broken, and humanity may need to rediscover truths it once knew. This has implications for how we think about our own time. We live in an era of unprecedented technological advancement. But how much of our knowledge depends on fragile and specialized systems? If our civilization faced a catastrophe similar to those that afflicted the ancient Mediterranean world, how much of our technology would survive and be comprehensible to future generations? The continuing role of AI in archaeology. The success of the Antikythera computer project opened new frontiers for the application of AI in archaeology and history. Researchers are now applying similar techniques to other ancient mysteries, with promising results. For example, AI is being used to decipher ancient texts in lost languages, analyzing statistical patterns and comparing with related known languages. Deep learning algorithms are helping to virtually reconstruct ancient buildings from scattered fragments, identifying which pieces fit together based on characteristics of shape, material, and context. AI-assisted image analysis is revealing details in ancient paintings, manuscripts, and inscriptions that were invisible to traditional techniques. This includes erased text in palimpsests, manuscripts scraped and reused, paintings hidden under layers of paint in artwork, and worn inscriptions in stone. But perhaps most exciting is the potential of AI to identify patterns at scales that humans cannot intuitively process. For example, analyzing data from thousands of archaeological sites simultaneously to identify cultural connections, trade routes, and migration patterns that aren't obvious when examining each site in isolation. Lessons for the present and future. The Antikythera computer and its AI-assisted reconstruction offer valuable lessons for our time. First, they demonstrate the value of preserving and studying the past. This unique artifact survived by pure chance. If that ship hadn't wrecked exactly where and how it did, or if the divers had ignored that corroded fragment, we would never have known this marvel of ancient engineering. How many other significant artifacts have been lost because they weren't recognized or properly preserved? This question should motivate us to invest in archaeology, museum conservation, and historical documentation. Each ancient object potentially contains information that can transform our understanding of the past. Second, the project demonstrates the power of interdisciplinary collaboration. The reconstruction of the Antikythera computer involved archaeologists, historians, astronomers, mechanical engineers, computer scientists, medical imaging specialists, and many others. No single discipline could have achieved what was accomplished through collaboration. Third, it illustrates how new technologies can unlock ancient knowledge. The Antikythera computer was discovered in 1901, but many of its secrets remained inaccessible until 21st century technologies, computed tomography, 3D modeling, artificial intelligence, could be applied. This suggests that many current historical mysteries may be waiting only for the right tools to be solved. The future of discovery. What else is waiting? The story of the Antikythera computer reminds us that our knowledge of the past is far from complete. The ancient world still holds countless secrets, waiting to be discovered or understood. Each new discovery has the potential to transform our understanding of human history. There are thousands of archaeological sites still unexcavated, millions of ancient texts still untranslated or inadequately studied, and countless artifacts in museum collections that have never been examined with modern technologies. Each of them may contain surprises comparable to the Antikythera computer. Moreover, Earth's oceans, which cover more than 70% of the planet's surface, remain largely unexplored. How many ancient shipwrecks are at the bottom of the sea, preserving snapshots of ancient societies? How many submerged ports and cities await discovery? As underwater exploration technology advances, we can expect extraordinary discoveries. The growing application of AI and other digital technologies promises to accelerate the pace of archaeological discoveries. Algorithms can analyze satellite images to identify potential archaeological sites, process ground-penetrating radar data to map buried structures, and virtually reconstruct fragmented artifacts with unprecedented precision. Conclusion: humility before the past. The Antikythera computer and its AI-assisted reconstruction teach us humility. It demonstrates that we should not underestimate the achievements of our ancestors or assume that progress is always linear. Ancient civilizations were capable of feats of ingenuity, and sophistication that rival many modern achievements. This remarkable device, created more than 2,000 years ago by craftsmen whose names we don't know, using tools we would consider primitive, embodies knowledge and skill that continue to impress modern experts. It reminds us that human intelligence, creativity, and capacity for innovation are not modern inventions, but timeless characteristics of our species. As we continue to study the Antikythera computer and apply new technologies to other ancient mysteries, we can expect more surprises, more revelations that challenge our assumptions, and more reasons to marvel at the achievements of those who came before us. The story of this extraordinary artifact is also a story about archaeology itself, about how our understanding of the past evolves as we develop new tools and approaches. What began as a corroded and incomprehensible fragment was transformed through more than a century of study, and recently through the power of artificial intelligence, into a clear window into the brilliance of ancient engineering. The Antikythera computer remains a testament to the human capacity to observe, understand, and model the universe around us. Its builders looked to the heavens, saw patterns in the movements of planets and stars, and created a machine that captured those patterns in bronze and gears. In doing so, they created something that would transcend their own time, speaking across millennia to remind us that we are only the most recent in a long line of thinkers, innovators, and dreamers. As we contemplate this remarkable artifact and the revelations brought by its AI-assisted reconstruction, we are forced to reconsider not only what we know about the past, but also what it means to be human. Creatures who look to the stars, ask questions, create tools, and seek to understand our place in the cosmos. The Antikythera computer tells us that these essentially human qualities are truly timeless.